Hello everyone, welcome once again to cafetography.co.uk. Today we're looking at another classic telephoto prime lens from Canon, the Canon 200mm f2.8 Mark II. This lens has a reputation for being very sharp indeed. Its vast aperture and telephoto focal length means it's certainly an excellent portrait lens. It can also be quite useful for sports and event photographers. Many photographers would prefer to have the 70-200 f2.8 zoom lens that comes with image stabilisation instead of this prime. Despite the appeal that the 70-200 brings, this lens has some advantages in that it's smaller and lighter than the zoom lens. And for a Canon L Series lens, it's also comparatively affordable. The biggest disadvantage for this lens is it does not have image stabilisation. However, the fast maximum aperture of f2.8 should mean that you get just enough light in for this not to be a major problem. This lens can really give you some beautiful out-of-focus backgrounds, as you can see here. It's certainly quite a professional tool. Let's start this review by looking at the lens build quality. It feels very solid and weighty. The glass in the front element is rather large, weighing it down, but overall it's not too heavy. All Canon L Series lenses are made to this very high standard. The largest feature on this lens is the focus ring. The lens has full-time manual focusing, so you can turn that focus ring at any time, and the lens's front element will not extend or turn. The focus ring operates very smoothly and precisely, turning just enough for precise manual focusing. But anyway, that's normally not necessary, because this lens's autofocus motor is super fast and very quiet, as you can see here. It also works very accurately. All in all, the Canon 200mm f2.8 Mark II is a simple and yet beautifully made piece of equipment. It's just right for any kind of professional use, either heavy duty or otherwise. That's all very good, but let's take a look at the all-important picture quality. We'll be testing this lens out on a full frame camera, a 20 megapixel Canon 6D. We've turned on peripheral illumination and chromatic aberration correction for these tests. We dived in straight at f2.8, and you can see that this lens is sharp in the middle of the images. There's plenty of contrast and good levels of detail can be seen. The other good news is this lens remains just as sharp in the corners of the images. The further good news is that you can squeeze out noticeably more sharpness by stopping the lens's aperture down to f4 or f5.6 for even more sharpness in those corners, and back in the middle of the image too. Frankly, you couldn't really ask for a better performance on a full frame camera. The fact that this lens is so sharp in its corners is especially impressive. Let's take a look at picture quality on the trickier playing field of an APS-C camera, in this case a 20 megapixel Canon 70D. It provides a pretty impressive performance at f2.8. This lens is just as sharp in the middle of its images. We see it handling the 70D's APS sensor effortlessly. As we look into the corners, we still see a really excellent image. Just like on a full frame camera, if you stop the lens down to f4 and further down to f5.6, there are further slight improvements in picture quality. Whether you're using this lens on a full frame or APS-C camera, the Canon 200mm f2.8 Mark II performs unquestionably. It really is a sharp lens. We're now going to look at how this lens handles distortion and vignetting on a full frame camera. Here at f2.8, we can see just a negligible level of pincushing distortion. Nothing to worry about at all. We also see just a little vignetting or darkness in the corners of the image at f2.8. In order to get rid of this, either turn on peripheral illumination on your camera or stop the lens down to an aperture of f4 where the vignetting neatly goes away. This is another excellent performance. This lens can focus as closely as 1.5 meters from your subject. As such, it won't be mistaken for a macro lens anytime soon. But this is close enough for some pictures of smaller subjects. Thankfully, at f2.8, the picture quality does remain very sharp, although we can see just a tiny hint of purple fringing on the contrast edges. Stop the lens down to f4 for perfect picture quality. Let's see how this lens performs against bright lights. As you can see, bright lights in your picture will cause quite a major loss of contrast, so it's very advisable to always use a lens hood with this lens. Finally, let's take a look at the quality of this lens's bokeh. The visual quality of the autofocus areas in these images is truly excellent. It's easy to get nicely out of focus backgrounds with this lens, and the bokeh in your backgrounds is always very nice and smooth, just melting away into a lovely blurriness. So what can we say overall? The Canon 200mm f2.8 Mark II is a rather flawless lens in terms of both image quality and build quality. There really is almost nothing to criticise about this beautiful professional optic. Many people will find it to be a very useful tool for the professional portrait photographer or sports or events photographer. However, many people would rather have a 70-200 f2.8 zoom lens instead, which would be admittedly more convenient. But this prime is smaller, lighter, much less expensive, so photographers who need 200mm should seriously consider it. From our test, we highly recommend it. If you like our reviews and want to see more, please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel.